For guys, for the chapter 8 homework of you guys, it's very nice. You guys have done a very good job. I see everyone has corrected most of the questions. That's very nice. Okay, so let's do this first. You can read the question first, and then let's discuss if you have any idea. Okay, does anyone have any question about the meaning of the question? Any wording that causes your confusion? All right, so basically we started with 4,200 participants, right? 4,200 people, and the ratio between runners and joggers was 2 to 19. So you know the total number, and you know the ratio in the beginning, right? What does that mean? A total number and a ratio, what does it tell you? What does it tell you? Do you know how many joggers and runners there were in the beginning?
There were 4,200 participants, both joggers and runners combined.
Yeah, very nice. Yes. So you know the total number and you know the ratio between them. So that means you're able to find the numbers of joggers and runners in the beginning, right? And then it says 500 joggers dropped out. So since you know the original numbers, then you can just subtract 500 from the number of joggers, right? And then you have the new numbers, and you can just find the ratio of the new numbers. Does that make sense? It shouldn't be a hard question, but let me see. I think none of you. Yeah, I think none of you did this. It's not a hard question. Maybe it's because most of you started to abandon, started to give up. Okay, after like 60, 61. Okay, so sometimes there were some easy questions. So let's do it together. Does anyone want to give it a try? How do we find numbers of runners and joggers in the beginning? Total number, and you know the ratio. Emma? Emma, so do you remember how to do this? You know the ratio, you know the total number. How do you find the individual amounts, individual numbers? Emma, no? Okay. Emma，你还记得吗？
No.
完全不记得了。
Pretty much.
我们之前Emma，你就记得先复习一下。我们之前这种是一直在学的嘛，就是你知道一个比例，又知道总数，怎么求各自的数啊？就是把这个比例要加起来。比如说我们举个简单的例子，比如说你知道4比5，然后你知道有9个，那是不是很明显一个是4个，一个是5个，对吧？那如果你有18个呢，那是不是一边8个，一边10个？为什么呢？因为你把这个4比5看成一组嘛。4比5的意思就是说，有4个 A 就有5个 B， 你可以把4个 A 5个 B 看成一组，一组是9个，没问题吧？所以每9个里面就是4个 A 5个 B， 每9个里面就4个 A 5个 B。 然后比如说，假设题目说一共有900个，那你就看有几组，是不是900除以9啊？对吧 ？OK，所以是不是有100组啊？那就是说明100组，那每一组里面有4个 A 嘛，就是400个 A，每组里面有5个 B 就500个 B。OK， 你就加起来啊，然后再做个除法 ，make sense 吗 ？Yeah，OK，那我们把这个做了吧，好吧？我觉得这个题不是很难，你来试一下 ，All right？So 2 to 19，what do you do first？
Plus.
2 plus 19, right? 21. So what does that mean? That means you can see them as a group, right? If you see there's a group of people, 21 people, and 2 of them are runners and 19 of them are joggers, right? 一组对吧？一组21个人，21个人里面有2个 runner 和19个 jogger，有问题吧？Okay, and then and then what do we do?
Maybe divide them.
Yes, we divide them, right? So we have 4,200 divided by 21. This gives us the number of groups, right? So how many groups do we have?
200.
200. Very nice. So that means how many runners and joggers were in the beginning? You've got 200 groups of 21 people, right? In each group, you have 2 runners and 19 joggers. So how many runners were there in total?
400.
400. So 2
Runners.
times 200, right?
Yeah.
Very good. So 400 runners. And what about the number of joggers?
3,800.
Very nice. So you do a multiplication again, or you can subtract 400 from 4,200, right? So you get 3,800 joggers. Okay, good. And what does the questions say next? 500 joggers dropped out, right? So that means we just subtract 500 from the number of joggers, right? So we just do 3,800 minus 500. So that means there were only 3,300 joggers who finished the race. Okay, so who finished the race? Okay, who finished the race? And the question is asking for the ratio of runners to joggers among who finished the race, right? So now, how many runners have finished the race?
Still 400.
Still 400. And how many joggers?
3,300.
So that means the ratio is?
3,700.
No, the ratio. So here, this is ratio.
Okay.
We're gonna you simplify the ratio. 就是你要简化这个比例啊，就跟分数一样，怎么简化？
Divided by same number.
Yeah, divided by what number here?
100.
100. Yes, there were 2 zeros, right? So 4 to 33. And you see 4 to 33, there's no common factor. Because 4 only has 2 in it, right? And 33 is an odd number. 问题吧? Okay, good. Yeah, that's the answer. For now, okay? Yeah. So you see, so Albert, you see in your homework, and remember you just said, okay, you see I make a mark here. You just said 762 to the last question, don't know. So I think you've skipped this one. If you have read this is not a hard question, right? Okay. Yeah, and also Jerry, I believe you also skipped it or not. I don't quite remember. I think so. So not a hard question. Any question at all for this one? Okay, good. Let's move on. The next one, Albert and Jerry. So, okay, for Emma, you have to remember the basics of ratios. Okay, the very basic ratio is that you can always add up the ratio to determine like sort of like how many things in a group, and you divide the total number by this, you know, the number of things in a group to determine the number of groups, and then you can determine the individual numbers. And this is very basic, very elementary. You see that in school and stuff. Very basic. Okay, you have to remember that. Okay, next question. Give you guys just do question A first. Okay, so 1 minute, do question A. For question B, we'll do it later. Okay. All right. So question A wouldn't be too hard. The question is saying that you have a novel, and the novel contains 760 pages, right? You've got 760 pages. You've got Bob and Chandra, so B and C. Okay, two people, B and C. So B can read a page in 45 seconds, and C reads a page in 30 seconds. And you just need to determine the time they spent reading the whole book, right? So I think the first question should be pretty straightforward. Does anyone want to give it a try? Let's look at Bob first, okay? Bob reads a page in 45 seconds. He spends 45 seconds reading a page, and he's got 760 pages. What do we do? How do we find out the time for Bob?
45 times 760.
Yeah, we just do a multiplication, right? Each page you take, he's gonna take 45 seconds. There were 760 pages. You just time them. So 45 times this. Very nice. What about C? Chandra or Chandra, I don't even know. How much time does she gonna take?
30 times 760.
Very nice. Yes. So Emma, do you have any question about this? Yeah, good. Okay, just a simple multiplication, and then we do this. So 22800. Okay. But the question is actually asking how many more seconds does Bob take than Chandra takes, right? Okay, so we have to do a subtraction. So that means if you don't have a calculator, you don't have to do the products. When you find a difference, you see that we have a common factor stuff, right? Remember? So 45 copies of the 760 minus 30 copies of 760, you just have 15 copies of them, right? So if we know what the question is asking, we just do a subtraction here. And recall from the distributive property of multiplication, we do this, right? 45 minus 30 times 760. And this gives us 15 times 760. And that should be, let me see, 11400 seconds. And this will be the answer. Okay, so here you don't actually have to find the products. You're just saving time as you can. And then question B. I'll read them first. So basically what it is saying is that B and C decided to read a book together, right? C reads from the first page and B reads from the next page. Okay, so basically C reads from page 1 to a certain page, and then B reads from the next page to last page. So basically they divided the book into 2 parts, right? And then each of them reads 1 part. It's another way to say that they collaborate to read the whole book. Okay. Now, if they spend the same amount of time reading the book, and finish the book, of course, it's asking how many pages should C read? And of course, you will know how many pages should B read, right? You just need to determine the number of pages she should read. Okay, so does that make sense? Emma, does that make sense to you, the meaning of the question? Yeah, okay. Because we know that B and C, they have a different speed reading the book, right? So obviously, since we see C reads the book faster. C reads the 1 page in 30 seconds, but Bob reads a page in 45 seconds. So C reads faster than B. So intuitively, in the end, C should be responsible for more pages in the book, right? C should finish more pages in the book than Bob does. Okay? But how do we find exactly how many pages should C finish if both of them spend the same amount of time reading it? Let's see if anyone has any idea first before we talk about how to do it. Anyone? No?
Maybe we can set the time that C read to the X to get it.
你用中文说吧，我刚刚没听清。
就是我们可能可以就是用30作为X 上有那种解方程可以去算一下。
解方程30作为 X。
就像30x 可能就等于对45乘760减 x 这种。
可以啊，非常好啊 ，very nice, very nice， 对吧？因为他们的 time 是一样，对吧 ？Very good, exactly, okay, very nice. Yes. So Emma just proposed a method. I think that's really good. Okay, so in this kind of question, you can think how to use ratio to solve it, but you're always welcome to suppose X, right? The question is asking how many pages should C read so that she and Bob spend the same amount of time, right? So if we suppose C reads X pages, okay, I'm gonna say let C reads X pages, then of course, Bob reads 760 minus X pages, correct? Albert, Sherry? Because there were only, there were 760 pages in total. And when you suppose X, back into chapter 5, chapter 6, word problems, we know that we have to establish an equation, right? Just get an equation with X and solve for X. So what is the equation here? For equation, you have to go back to the question and really just think what two quantities are the same. In this case, it's not hard. It tells you the amount of time is the same, right? So we can find the amount of time C reads X pages and also the amount of time B reads, well, the remaining number of pages. Okay, so notice that time for both of them is the same. Okay, so we can get C spends 30x seconds and B spends 45 760 minus X this many, well, seconds, this many time. Okay, Emma, very nice, very good. Yeah, and we just solve it. So here we can first time it out. Now this will be 45 times 760 minus 45x. Here's 30x. Okay, and again, when you do this, don't rush to find out the product, especially when in circumstances when you don't have a calculator. Okay, if you have a calculator, if you're doing Canadian math competitions, then of course you can do whatever you want, right? But if you're doing American math competitions, and well, there were certain other competitions that don't allow a calculator, and also there were some exams that don't allow a calculator, right? Something like yeah, some SSA and stuff, you know, some part of it doesn't allow a calculator. Now, if you don't have a calculator, you will see that if you move this to the other side, you've got 75x, and they can divide over here. So it can cancel out in the end, right? You don't have to find a product first. Okay, again, every time we can save time, we save time, okay? So when we move 45x over there, the 75x equals this. Don't find a product. Now we can do cancellation. So this divided by 75. Does that make sense? You see, you don't even need to find a product. If you find a product divided by 75, you have to do long division again. But here, it'll be just easier, right? So first we can divide by, say, divided by 5, and this is 15. No, sorry, divided by 5, that's a 9. Divided by 5, that's 15, right? And then divided by 3, that's 3. Divided by 3, that's 5. And you divided by 5 again. Here, divided by 5, that's 1, 5, 2. Okay, so that means we have 3 times 152, so that's 456 pages. X is 456. Yeah, X is just 456, and that's the answer. Okay, Jerry, Albert, any question for this part? Okay, very nice, Emma. Okay, very good. This is an alternative method. Okay, we could say it's method 1. Okay, since this, you know, this question is is in chapter 7, is about ratios, right? Is there any way to use ratio to solve this question? Jerry and Albert, and also Emma, see if you can come up with this. I'm gonna give us a hint because I see there might be difficulties coming up with this. Okay, now they collaborate to finish the book, or in other words, in total they need to read 760 pages. Okay, so 760 is the total number. So going back to the previous questions told us that if you have the total number and also if you have the ratio, then you can just add them up, divide, you will know the exact numbers, right? You will know the specific and individual numbers. Okay, so here we've known the total number, which means that we just need to figure out a ratio between, a ratio of C and B. so that we can determine how many pages they're gonna finish, right? So what ratio? Well, the total number is the number of pages, right? So the ratio between C and B should be the ratio of, well, let's just say in the same amount of time, how many pages can C finish? And also how many pages can B finish? Right? Just giving you guys an example. For example, let's say C just in a given specific amount of time, whatever what time is, just when the time is same, if C can finish 7 pages and B can finish 4 pages, just for example, okay, then that means you can just add them up, you get 11 pages, right? You can see 11 pages as a group. And for every 11 pages, 7 pages will be finished by C, 4 pages will be finished by B in the same amount of time, no matter what time that is. Okay, and then you can add up to get 11 and do a division. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is just what we need to figure out. Is there any question for this? So say this is method one. Method one is really, so you get X. Suppose here is really good. Okay, so the second solution, total pages, 760, and then we just need to determine a ratio between a ratio of the reading speed, right? Let's say in the same amount of time, the pages, the number of pages, okay, that can be finished by B and C. Pages can be finished by B and C. We just need to find out this, right? So that we can set up a ratio. So how do we find out this ratio? We are given that C reads a page in 30 seconds, okay? Yeah, C reads a page in 30 seconds, B reads a page in 45 seconds. So if the time is the same, how many pages can they finish? 30 seconds per page. 45 seconds per page. Anyone? I'm gonna write it down here. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, I think I've made it clear. If you have any if you still have any question, let me know. If you think that's clear, try to think about how can you find the ratio here, knowing their reading speed.
45 to 30.
45 to 30 is the ratio of their time, right? Of their time per page. Notice that we have to specify that in the same amount of time, how many pages they can finish. We're not comparing between the time. We're comparing between how many pages per, say, per minute, per hour, that kind of thing. Because in the end, you are finding the ratio between the pages. Does that make sense? So a very common mistake is that you do 30 to 45. 30 to 45 is the ratio between time, not the ratio between pages. Okay, so if you get 30 to 45, that is to find out, well, how much time they're gonna need, right? That's actually question A. You see, question A, 30 to 45, and they need to read 760 pages. If I ask you, what is the ratio between the time they spend to finish the book, then that will be the ratio between them, which is just 30 to 45, right? Okay, in this case, we have the number of total pages. So we need to compare how many pages they can finish in the same amount of time. Here, you know that they can finish one page in different amount of times, right? Different amounts of times. So how can we find How can we change 30 seconds and 45 seconds into the same amount of time and then try to find out how many pages they can finish in that time frame? Okay, just for example, here, since the time is different, right? The time are different, we can we can double them. For example, say this, you can change it to be 1 minute per 2 pages, right? 1 minute, he can finish 2 pages. 1 minute, 2 pages. Again, then and Bob, maybe you can time it by 2. That's 90 seconds. 90 seconds will be 1.5 minutes for 2 pages, right? But still, the times are not the same. But this is a hint. You can make them bigger, double them, triple them, until you have the same amount of time, right? Any idea? What about 2 minutes? What about 3 minutes? What about other time?
Can 30 minutes work?
30 minutes could work, yeah. Any smaller amount? 30 minutes definitely works, right? Because it's a really big number. Just looking at this, for example, just 1 minute and 1.5 minutes. How can we change them, into the same amount of time? Okay, what if I give you this? What if I time it by 3? 3 minutes. Then of course she can finish 6 pages, right? Then what about Bob? Can we change the amount of time for Bob to 3 minutes also? 1.5 minutes, 2 pages, right? So we can time it by 2, right? If we time it by 2, we get 3 minutes here. Also 3 minutes, right? And he can only finish 4 pages. Does that make sense? Right? Now, you see, we have the same amount of time, and now we have a ratio between them. So this means that every 3 minutes, C finishes 6 pages and B finishes 4 pages in the same amount of time. So this is the ratio between their reading speed in terms of number of pages, not just time, in terms of reading pages. Does that make sense? It's different, right? So if you compare between the time, 30 to 45, the smaller number means that this person is reading faster because that's per page, right? Smaller number is faster. But if you're comparing ratios between pages, that means more pages is faster. Because in the same amount of time, if you read more pages, that means you read faster. Okay, so that's different. What does it tell us? 30 seconds, 45 seconds, we time by sort of a number so that the time is the same. That is the least common multiple, right? Least common multiple. Does that make sense? We're actually looking for the least common multiple of their time so that we find the least common multiple. If we can find the least common multiple of their time, then the amount of time will be the same. And then we can find out how many pages they can finish in that amount of time. Okay, so Jerry Alberts, if I have any question about that. This is actually not the least common multiple, so we can find the least common multiple later, but see if you have grasped the idea. So Emma, 我看你有点皱眉头，不知道你明白了没有？你要不然我再给你解释一下中文。
不是，
需要吗？
我
不用
只是在想。
想你现在觉得明白吗？我还给你稍微再说一下啊，因为是 B， 对，是 B 跟 C 一起读了760页，对吧？我们这样看一下，在同样的时间段内，他们各自读多少页？因为题目给的就是说同样的时间，他们一起读一本书嘛。题目也是同样的时间，对吧？一起读一本书，问他们各自读多少页？那我们是不是得看看同样的时间内，他们各自能读几页？ 比如说我们举个简单的例子啊，说，假设有10颗糖，那你1分钟吃1颗糖，我1分钟吃2颗糖，对吧？同样的时间，你吃1颗，我吃2颗，那就是9颗糖嘛。假设，那假设最后我们一起吃，最后谁吃几颗呢？那肯定你吃3颗，我吃6颗，对吧？你是不是需要找到同样的时间内，他们各自能完成几页，他们各自能完成的工作量，找到这个东西啊？但题目没有给，对吧？题目给的是不同的时间，他们能完成同样的量，那你就要想办法把这个不同的时间换成一样的时间，比如说都换成3分钟，就知道他们各自读几页了。那你想每3分钟一个读10页，一个读4页，那个时候合起来呢，每3分钟一共他们读10页，那不一共760页吗？那是不是需要76个3分钟啊？但是时间这道题他们不要我们找嘛，找的是各自读几页，那就让76个3分钟呢，76乘6就是 C 读的页数，76乘4就是 B 读的页数，你觉得 make sense 吧？这个方法是跟你方法不一样，但你的方法更好，你方法其实更简单啊。但是我们只是把这个 ratio 的东西来说一下嘛 ，OK？ 因为这也是毕竟讲 ratio 啊，因为有些题可能并不一定能通过 X 来做，对，但其实基本上 ratio 题都能生 X 啊。那我们只是把 ratio 的方法也说一下，就让他搞明白这个 ratio 在这里比的是什么 ratio，OK？ So Jerry, do you have any question? No? Okay, good. So now I'm going to wipe it out and let's find the least common multiple, okay? Because after discussion, we realized that we just need to find the least common multiple of the time, right? So 30, 45, that's not hard. What is the least common multiple?
$90. 90.
90, right? Very good. So least common multiple here is 90. I'm gonna least common multiple of 30, 45 is just gonna be 90. So that means the easiest way here is to do 90 seconds, okay? So here we time by 3, 90 seconds, 3 pages. Three pages, so this is 3p. And now here you can time by 2, again, 90 seconds, 2 pages. Remember that when we did 3 minutes, the ratio of pages was 6 pages and 4 pages, right? For 3 minutes. So 6 to 4, 3 to 2, you see they are the same. Okay, so this means that for every 90 minutes, C can read 3 pages and B can read 2 pages. So that means in any given same amount of time, the number of pages they can read, they can finish, B to C is always 2 to 3. Any given same amount of time. Because for every 90 seconds, they can finish 3 to 2, right? 2 to 3. And then that means for any other given amount of time, say 90 minutes, or say 60 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. Does that make sense, right? If I give you the same amount of time, then they can finish 3 to 2, 2 to 3. Okay, so 2 to 3 is the number of pages they can finish. It's the ratio between pages in the same amount of time. And we know that total pages is 760. Okay, and then we just do the regular, the basic ratio stuff. Just add up the ratios, right? And then divide the total number of pages by them. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So just do 760 divided by 2 plus 3. And this is, 760 divided by 5. And that's 15152. Okay. And the question is actually asking how many pages can C read in the end, right? So C, this 152 means 152 same amount of time, right? 152 90 seconds, it means. Okay, because 2 to 3 is every 90 seconds, right? Every 90 seconds, 2 to 3. So if you divide by 5, that means you've got 152 90 seconds. Each 90 seconds, they can do 3 to 2. So the number of pages C can finish, you just time by 3. And that's 456 pages, which is the answer. Does that make sense? Okay, so Albert, that makes sense. So this is how you solve this question by ratio, and yeah, Emma gave us a method solving this question using x. Okay, if you think the first method is easier, then you can just choose the first method. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and in the end, if you compare the two methods, they're actually more or less the same. Okay, in the end, you get basically the same calculations. Okay, so that's question B. And then here we've got question C. The question C is from AMC 8. Oh, and Emma, by the way, your mom asked me when will we start to prepare for AMC 8? I just want to let you know that AMC 8, basically the majority of the questions are coming from this book. Okay, for AMC 8, for the first about 17, 18 questions, they will all be in this book. Okay, for the last maybe 6 to 7 questions, because they are very hard, they can extend beyond this book. But in the end, before AMC8, we will absolutely talk about them. Okay, yeah. This whole book is preparing you for AMC8. Okay, so the last question here. Yeah, let's read the question. So they read a book, and now Alice comes in, and Alice says she also wants to join the team reading. So now we divide the book into 3 sections, and again for the same length of time. And then how many seconds will each of them have to read? Now he's asking for time. See, okay. What do we do? It's very similar to question B, except that there's one more person, right? There were 3 people now. To determine how many time they're gonna spend reading, you just need to determine, first of all, you need to determine the number of pages, right? So it's just like question B, it's just that you got one more person here. Again, you can suppose X if you want, but yeah, so method 1 or method 2, anyone? The time for A is 20 seconds, okay? For A is 20 seconds. I'm gonna write it down. Alice, 20 seconds per page, okay? 20 seconds per page. C, 30 seconds per page. And for Bob, 45 seconds per page. These are their reading speeds. Anyone? You can suppose X, you can do method 2, find out the ratio. Method 2, remember the first step, least common multiple, okay? So you can find out the ratio, or you can use X. Does supposing X work now? Does it work?
I think so.
Okay, so Emma, say that we suppose A reads X pages, right? Now what about B and C?
Maybe it will just change to maybe 45 X again, and maybe then it will be Y, like for
You need a
the
Y.
C.
Yeah,
and the 20 for the 20 time 760 minus X and Y.
Yes, yeah. So if you suppose X here, now guys, notice that you have to suppose two variables, right? Because compared to last question, in the last question, you only have two people. So you can do X and 760 minus X, which is rather easy because you only have one variable, right, Emma? But in this question, you've got three people. So if you suppose one of them to be X, then still for the other two people, well, you just know that the sum of them is 760 minus X, but still you don't know the exact numbers. So you have to suppose another variable and do this. In this case, there were two variables. Now, it's not that hard, two variables, we can still solve for them, but the problem is that, have you guys ever learned this? This is actually a math 10, solving two variables, okay? And you will be actually be later in our class too, okay? Solving two variables is not required in AMC 8. It's only required in AMC 10, okay? So that's why I don't really recommend this. For now, if you do 20 times this equals 40 times X, and then 40 times X equals to 30 times Y, how do we proceed, right? Okay, so this is one way, but later, okay? So when you get older, when you get, for later, you can do this. So for now, we can only set up ratios, you see? So that tells us, sometimes there were some questions without you studying like higher level algebra. Sometimes if you do this, you are not able to solve them, okay? So how about the ratios, anyone? Just do the same method we've done here, right? Still, total number of pages is 760. It's just that we have three people and we've got their speeds. Remember that we're gonna first get the same amount of time so that you can find out ratio between pages, right? So let's do this together, okay? So again, I'm gonna put it down here. Put it here, okay. So let's see, method 2, again, this is method 1 later. Method 2, find out least common multiple first, right? You're gonna find out in the same amount of time how many pages they can finish for each of them. Okay, anyone? What is the least common multiple here?
180.
180, good. 180 seconds. So 180 seconds is actually just 3 minutes, right? So let's write it down. So in 3 minutes, how many pages can A finish?
9.
9, exactly, right? So 20 times 9 is 180, right? So 9 pages. Continue, B and C. How many pages can B finish?
4 pages.
And C?
C, 6 pages.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So Jerry, Emma, that makes sense? Right? So we first find the least common multiple, and now we have the same amount of time. So in the same amount of time, in 3 minutes, A reads 9 pages, B reads 4 pages, and C reads 6 pages. So the ratio is 9 to 4 to 6 for every 3 minutes, correct? Okay, good. Now, yeah, and then what do we do? In total, we have 760 pages, right? So every 3 minutes, any idea, anyone?
We add them all up, like 9 plus 4 plus 6.
Yeah, we add all of them up, right? Because in total, combine all of them, in 3 minutes, they can read 19 pages. Okay, in total, now, the total number of pages in the book will be 760, so you divide them, right? Divide by 19. So always you add up the ratios and divide. Now get 40. So the 40 here means that you have 40, you can see 19 pages as a group. Okay, Emma, again, this idea, right? 19 pages as a group, and you have 40 groups. For every group of 19 pages, 9 of them will be finished by A, 4 of them will be finished by B, 6 of them will be finished by C. Okay, so Jerry, that makes sense? And you've gotten 40 pages. So now you can go back to find out how many pages they finish. So what is he asking? He's asking how many sections will each of them have to read? Okay, this time the question is not asking for the number of pages, so you don't actually have to multiply back, right? If you multiply 9, 4, 6 back, you're finding out the number of pages they finish. Does that make sense? You only need to find out time now. So how do we find out time? "40 groups of 19 pages, but each group of 19 pages will be finished in 3 minutes, right? 3 minutes, they read 19 pages together. Now we have 40 groups of 19 pages. You just time it back, right? Make sense? 19 pages, 3 minutes. 19 pages, 3 minutes, right? Now we have 40 groups of 90 pages. So for the time, you just time it back. Times 3 minutes. So the answer would be 120 minutes. The question is not asking for the pages. You don't have to go back and find the pages. Okay, and even if you do, you can still find the time. So let's say 40 times 6, then that means C has to read 240 pages, right? And she reads a page in 30 seconds. So 240 pages times 30 seconds. 30 seconds is half a minute, right? So times 240, that's also going to give you 120 minutes. But that's just a step more. You don't have to do that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so the question is asking for time. Every 3 minutes, they can read 19 pages in total. You've got 40 groups of 19 pages because you have 760 pages in total. Okay, so time 3 minutes. You're gonna spend like 40 times 3 minutes. Any question? Okay, Emma, does that make sense? Jerry? Okay, good. And the last question is also from AMC8. This question has a star on it, but I've done it. It's not hard, and it's not even a racial problem. You can actually solve it by just using common sense. So by using some deduction, some reasoning. Okay. Yeah. So read the question first. We have Dallas and Houston, and we have buses shuttling between them, right? So buses from Houston to Dallas leave every hour on the half hour. What does that mean? It means that it leaves every like 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30. Okay, makes sense? On the half hour. So Emma, okay, this is wording I explained to you. Half hour, okay? The trip from one city to the other takes 5 hours. Oh, and sorry. And the first sentence says, buses from Dallas to Houston leave every hour on the hour. Okay, so from Dallas to Houston, they leave every hour on the hour. So exactly 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Okay, and from Houston to Dallas, they leave on a half hour. So 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, etc., etc. Okay, so if they travel on the same highway and they leave every hour, like without pause. So even if it's middle of the night, they still have buses coming forth and back. Okay, so it's asking if a Houston bound. So what bound means that you're going to which way? Okay, Houston bound means you're going to Houston. You're going from Dallas to Houston. Okay, so Emma， 我这个把这个跟你这个 bound 说一下，什么 bound 就是往哪儿走啊 ？Southbound 就是往南走 ，Northbound 就往北走 ，Houston bound 就往 Houston 走 ，Eastbound 就往东走。OK，pass on the highway。 So for this question, you don't even have to use ratio. You just need to think about a scenario, okay? So he's asking, so Houston bound, right? So from Dallas to Houston, they leave every hour on the hour. So let's just suppose it's 12 o'clock in the noon, or so 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. Doesn't matter because they're going every hour, okay? So let's say it's 12 o'clock. Now we have a bus from Dallas to Houston, right? So let's say this is Dallas, and here we have Houston. Okay, now we have a bus. Okay, coming out. Yeah. Okay, from Dallas. It leaves at 12 o'clock. Make sense? The question is asking how many buses from Houston to Dallas are you going to meet during the way? And tells you it takes 5 hours, right? So we first we know 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, this bus is going to arrive in Houston. Okay, right? Okay. So how many buses is it gonna encounter? In this sort of question, maybe you're thinking this. Okay, I'm just gonna go over because we'll go over time. Okay, I have another class. So we know that every bus from Houston to Dallas leaves on half the hour. On the half hour, right? So for example, 12:30, there's going to be a bus leaving from Houston to Dallas. That makes sense? 12:30, there's one. 1:30, there's going to be one. 2:30, there's going to be one. 3:30, there's going to be one. And also 4:30, there's going to be one. That's not hard, right? And at 5 o'clock, this bus has arrived. So 5:31, the 5:31 is not going to meet it. Does that make sense? It's very intuitive, right? Half an hour, right? So for this bus, it goes from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So in the way, it will meet every buses leaving from Houston at these times. Okay, so Jerry, that makes sense, Albert? You just know some basic reasoning, right? So before 5 o'clock, every bus that leaves from Houston will meet it in a way. So it looks like it's 5 buses, right? And that's where people got wrong, okay? So this is actually correct, but this is only half of the story. The reason why most students got wrong in this question is that they forgot there have been buses on the way already, right? Because buses from Houston don't just start from 12:30. They start every half hour. Okay, so for example, what about the 11:31? The 11:30 bus also is actually on the way, right? The 10:30 bus is also on the way. The 9:30 bus is also on the way. 8:30 bus is also on the way. Does that make sense? Right? Because it's only 12 o'clock. Okay, so this is only half of the story. Okay, so how many buses are there on the way when this bus leaves from Dallas at 12 o'clock? Well, the easiest way is to think we can just time by 2. Intuitively, there were 5 buses here as well, right? Because in 5 hours, he's gonna see these 5 buses. So that means before it, there were 5 buses more. It seems like he's just gonna time by 2, right? But you have to confirm. And how do you confirm? You just reason back, okay? So for example, because the buses from Houston to Dallas is also gonna take 5 hours, right? So let's go back 5 hours. This 12 o'clock, right? Any bus from Houston to Dallas will meet this bus if it hasn't arrived at Dallas at 12 o'clock, right? And it spends 5 hours on the way. So 12 minus 5, that's 7 o'clock. So let's write it down here, 7 o'clock. That means any bus that leaves after 7 o'clock is still on the way, right? Because it spends 5 hours on the way. Does that make sense? Any bus leaves after 7 o'clock from Houston will be on the way, right? So for example, there's 7:31, there's the 8:31, right? And there's also the 9:31, the 10:31, and the 11:31. See, there are 5 buses. The 12:31 is still at bay. It hasn't left yet, because now it's only 12 o'clock. Okay, see, the ratio here doesn't really, the ratio is actually just times 2, but this is how we think. So this is more about reasoning rather than ratio. Okay, make sense? Just suppose one bus leaves at 12 o'clock. Don't forget about this, because in my experience, most people make a mistake because they forget there were buses on the way already. There have been buses on the way. They only look at these and they said it's 5. Okay, yeah, so 12 o'clock, you arrive at 5, you will meet these guys, and also before 5, so 5 hours before, there'll be 7 o'clock, right? Any buses between 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock will be on the way. We'll meet this bus on the way. So 7:30, 8:30 to 11:30, they've been already on the way, and there were 5 buses that will have been on the way sometime later, and they will meet it. Okay, so the answer is just 10 buses. Okay, questions? This question is more like a brain twister, like a reasoning question. Okay. All right, if that makes sense, that's very good. We've finally wrapped chapter 10. Okay, again, I want you guys to redo this chapter 7 questions, because these questions I guess you guys haven't done. So for Jerry and Emma, try to redo the questions, make sure you understand them. Okay, again, Albert, every time he's redone the questions that we've talked about. So he's making progress. I want you guys to make progress as well. Okay, learn from your past, learn from your mistakes, right? For chapter 8, yeah, most of you correct your answers, and basically most of you got most of the questions correctly. So there were still just a few wrong, and I've marked them. So look at your homework and see if you can correct them more. Okay. So Albert, you make some very basic errors here. See if you can figure it out. Okay, and next time we will definitely go over the whole chapter 8, because for these few weeks, you guys have basically finished all the problems. Just a few minor details we're gonna go over. Okay, and also please finish chapter 8 review and challenge. Okay, just review. Challenge might be too hard for now. Just review. Okay, and correct your questions. So Jerry, you finished chapter 8 review, very nice. Correct the ones you got wrong, and also especially chapter 7, redo questions chapter 7. Ratios are very popular. Ratios are very popular questions in all sorts of math competitions. Make sure you understand. Okay.